Dear students of Honors Part 1, how are you doing? Today I will discuss on introduction to prose, that is, I will discuss on an item of introduction to prose, and that item belongs to the part of fiction, and the name of the piece of writing is The Gift of the Magi, and the writer is O. Henry, which is the pen name of William Sidney Porter. And my discussion for today will be divided into several parts. In the beginning, I will give you an introduction of the writer, that is William Sidney Porter, and later I will discuss the writing, The Gift of the Magi. And William Sidney Porter, he occupied a very unique place in the history of American fiction, and he is very popular as a short story writer, and he is the best known and most popular of American short story writers. And during his 16 years of writing career, he wrote more than 600 short stories. And the writer William Sidney Porter has unique language skills, that is, he has unusual language skills and supreme endings. And besides unusual language skills and supreme endings, we also find wit, word play, and his characterization are very superb and excellent. And his writer, The Gift of the Magi, as the name suggests, refer to the gifts that were brought by the Magi on the occasion of the birth of Jesus Christ. When Jesus Christ was born, some of the wise people of the East brought gifts for the Jesus Christ, and they brought gifts without any self-interest, and only because they loved the prophet Jesus Christ, they brought those gifts. And here in this story we find that on the eve of Christmas, the wife plans to buy a gift for her husband, and the husband also plans to buy a gift for his wife. And we see that the wife ultimately bought a gift, but at the cost of losing her beautiful hair, and the husband also bought a valuable gift for his wife, but at the cost of the golden watch that he inherited from his father and from his forefather. And now we will analyze the story according to the norm of the short story. And in short story, according to the norm of short story, we will discuss this short story, The Gift of the Magi, on the basis of plot arrangement, point of view, and narrator, characters, and setting. And first, I will discuss about plot arrangement, and we see a very artistic plot arrangement by the writer William Sidney Porter. And this is a short story, and in the plot we find exposition, complication, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution or denouement. And in the exposition we see the introduction. The writer introduces us to the character, and here we find the character G. Mandela, and the writer introduces us to the character G. Mandela. And later in the composition part we see that we see conflict, internal conflict in the heart of Della, in the form of not having enough money to buy a beautiful gift for her husband, and that is why she has to plan to sell her hair. And in the rising action we see the rising of crisis in the mind of Della, and in climax, which is the peak of the story, we see that we see the presence of Jim returning home with the gift that he bought for Della. And in the falling of action we see the decrease of crisis, and in the form that both husband and wife they accepted their fate, and we see a happy ending at the end through the sacrifice of husband and wife. But the husband and wife, both of them sacrificed, but their gifts were of no use for the time being, and but they proved that they are Magi. And if we analyze the characters here, we find the major characters are Jim and Della, and the minor character is Ma'am Sophrony. And Jim and Della, both of them are flawed characters, because in their character we don't see much action or much dynamism. And if we discuss about the setting of the story, we find that the story takes place in the house of Jim and Della, and also in the store where Della buy the gift, and also Ma'am Sophrony's place where Della visits to sell her hair. And we see the time is the Christmas Eve, and also the evening of the Christmas Eve, when Jim and Della met and talked to each other. And if we discuss the point of view, here we find that the story is narrated from third person narrator's point of view, and we find that in this story he, she and it is used to narrate the story. And here we see that the speaker has limited knowledge about we see that the speaker is a non-participant narrator. That is, the speaker does not take role in the story, and the speaker is a non-participant speaker. And we see limited omniscience from the speaker's point of view, and the speaker gives full description of Jim and Della, but the speaker did not give full description of another minor character, Ma'am Sophrony. And we see the theme in this story. We find the theme of sacrifice from both the major characters, Jim and Della. And if I go through a number of lines from this short story, the name of the short story is The Gift of the Magi, and let me read a few lines. $1.87, and that was all, and 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by bulldozing the grocer and the vegetable man and the butcher, until one cheeks burned with the silent imputation of parsimony that such close dealing implied. 3 times Della counted it, $1.87, and the next day would be Christmas. And now let me escape several lines and move on to onto the lines forward. And let me read from this place. Della finished her cry and attended to her cheeks with the powder bag. She stood by the window and looked out dully at a grey cat walking a grey fence in a grey backyard. And let me now move on to further onward and read from this place. Now there were two possessions of the James Dillingham Young in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch, and that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hang out the window someday to dry, just to depreciate Her Majesty's jewels and gifts. And let me now move on to forward and read from this place. Will you buy my hair? Asked Della. I buy hair, said Madam. Take your hat off and let's have a sight at the looks of it. And now let me move on to much forward and read from this place. White fingers and nimble tore at the string and paper, and then an ecstatic scream of joy, and then alas, a quick feminine change to hysterical tears and wail, necessitating the immediate employment of all the comforting powers of the lord of the flat. And let me now read the last para of this short story. The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in exchange of duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat, who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But in a lust or two, the wise of these days, let it be said that of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are wisest. Everywhere they are wisest. They are the Magi. And in this short story, you get a wonderful love, a wonderful and superb love and sacrifice that is shown to each other by two foolish lovers named Jim and Della. Both of them sacrificed their dearest possessions for each other, and they sacrificed their dearest possession without having any hint of self-interest in their character, and both of them loved each other very passionately. And if you ask me whose sacrifice is greater, Jim's or Della's, you may argue and you may say that Della's sacrifice is greater because she loses her beauty for buying the gifts of her husband, because she cut off her hair and sold it, and that is why she lost her beauty for buying the gifts of her husband. On the other hand, you can also say that the sacrifice of Jim is greater because he has inherited a family possession from his forefather, and the family possession that is sold and that will never come back. But the hair that is lost will grow within some 3 or 4 months. Della will get her hair back, but Jim will never get his family possession back because he has sold the golden watch that he has inherited from his father and from his forefather, and he will never get his family possession back. And in this sense, the sacrifice that is made by Jim is far greater, and even greater than we can think of. And my dear students, I hope that you will enjoy this wonderful piece of short story, and this is a brilliant short story. And I will also tell you to read the short story written by William Sidney Porter. He is a very wonderful short story writer, and you will get many new words from his short story. And he's a master of words, master of using all the wonderful words. He could play with words. He is a word player, and his ending, he ends his story with sharp twist and turn, and you will be very much captivated by the endings that he is made in all his short stories. And with this short description and with these few words, I would like to conclude my discussion for today. And thank you very much for listening to me, my dear students.